The unwilling surrogate Diddy, as everyone called her, was a quiet young woman who left her village in search of a better life in Lagos. What she found instead was something she never could have imagined. Diddy was the only child of Mr. and Mrs. Ez. They loved her deeply and gave her everything they could. To them, she was not just a daughter, she was their world. But fate was cruel. One tragic evening, her parents were involved in a fatal car accident. In a single day, Diddy lost everything: her home, her security, and the only people who truly cared for her. As if that wasn't enough, her uncles wasted no time. They gathered and claimed all her parents' properties, insisting that according to tradition, a girl had no right to inherit. Since her parents had no sons, they said everything belonged to them. Diddy was too broken to fight back. With nowhere else to go, she was sent to Lagos to live with her aunt. At first, she thought she would be safe. She was wrong. His was the same aunt who used to visit her parents often, smiling warmly and leaving with money and gifts. But now, everything had changed.
Scrub
In Lagos, her
harder.
aunt showed her true
I
colors.
want this cloth
Diddy was treated like a
right
burden,
now.
overworked,
Do you hear me?
insulted, and constantly reminded that she had nothing. She watched her cousins live comfortably in a life her own parents once helped support. The pain sat quietly
Scrub
inside
harder.
her. Diddy was not
I want this
outspoken.
cloth
She was
spotless
shy,
right
withdrawn,
now.
and
Do you
still
hear
grieving.
me?
So she endured it all in silence. Months passed. Then one day, Diddy fell seriously ill. Her aunt reluctantly took her to the hospital, where she received treatment. Before she left, the doctor told her to return in a month for a follow-up check. A month later, Diddy went back as instructed. The hospital was busy that day, so the doctor referred her to another doctor without much explanation. That single moment changed everything. The new doctor, already handling a surrogacy case, mistook Diddy for the intended surrogate. Without asking proper questions, without confirming her identity, he proceeded with the procedure. Diddy didn't understand what was happening. She only knew that pregnancy involved a man and a woman. When the doctor injected her with substances and carried out the process, she assumed it was just part of her treatment. She asked no questions. She trusted them. When it was over, the doctor simply told her to come back in a month. Diddy went home, unaware that her life had just taken a terrifying turn. When the time came for her follow-up visit, her aunt refused to let her go, insisting she was already fine. A week later, changes began. Her body started to feel different. Her aunt noticed. At first, it was suspicion, then anger. "Are you pregnant?" she demanded. Diddy shook her head in fear. She had never been with a man. She didn't even understand how such a thing could be possible, but her aunt didn't believe her. She dragged Diddy back to the hospital. The tests were done. The result came back. Pregnant. Not just pregnant, pregnant with twins. Diddy was in shock. It didn't make sense. It felt like a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. Her aunt, furious and embarrassed, lashed out, slapping her, accusing her, calling her names. But something didn't add up. After further investigation, the truth came out. Diddy was still a virgin. The pregnancy had occurred through a surrogacy procedure. A mistake. A careless, life-altering mistake. The doctor responsible had already been transferred. The hospital refused to take responsibility, claiming that the original couple who requested the surrogate had canceled the process. There was no one to hold accountable. No solution. No justice. To her aunt, Diddy had become nothing but a disgrace.
Get out of my house.
Without
and don't you
hesitation,
ever
she
come
threw
back.
her out.
You
Pregnant,
hear me?
alone,
I said,
with
get
nowhere
out.
to go. But fate wasn't done with her yet. Just when everything seemed lost, Diddy
Don't
ran into
cry
someone
now.
unexpected. Her late mother's
Everything is
closest
going to
friend,
be all right.
a woman who had been searching for her since her parents' death.
It was all the
For
hospital's
the first time
fault.
in a long while, Diddy felt a flicker of hope.
I didn't
With
cause
tears
all
in her
this.
eyes, she told her everything, from losing her parents to losing her home and, finally, to the pregnancy she never chose. Diddy expected pity. What she received from Aunt Grace was something
Don't
far
cry
greater:
now.
love.
Everything
The
is
moment
going to
Aunt
be all
Grace saw
right.
her, she pulled her into a tight embrace, as if trying to make up for all the years they had been apart. "My child, I've been looking for you." For the first time since her parents died, Diddy broke down completely. She told her everything. And this time, someone listened. Not with judgment, not with anger, but with understanding. A new beginning, Aunt Grace took Diddy into her home without hesitation. She had no children of her own, and from the moment Diddy stepped into her house, she treated her like the daughter she never had. Unlike her aunt in Lagos, Aunt Grace was kind, patient, and protective. But she was also wise. When Diddy explained the hospital incident, Aunt Grace's face hardened. She understood something Diddy didn't. "This is not just a mistake," she said quietly. "This can become a problem in the future." She knew enough about surrogacy to realize one terrifying possibility: the original parents might come back. And if they did, they could try to take the children. The truth about the pregnancy determined to protect Diddy, Aunt Grace took her to a trusted medical specialist. Tests were conducted carefully. Weeks passed with tension hanging in the air. Finally, the results came, and what they revealed changed everything. The fertilized eggs that were meant to be implanted had failed. Instead, during the procedure, Diddy's own eggs had been used, which meant the children growing inside her were biologically hers, not someone else. Not borrowed, not shared, they were her children. Diddy cried that day, not out of fear this time, but relief. For the first time since the nightmare began, she felt something powerful: ownership, connection, love. The birth of the twins months later, Diddy gave birth to healthy twins, a boy and a girl. Aunt Grace stood by her through every moment. The house that was once silent became filled with laughter, crying, and life. Diddy, once broken and voiceless, slowly began to change. Motherhood gave her strength. Aunt Grace gave her confidence, and for a while everything was peaceful. The past returns until one day a black SUV pulled up in front of Aunt Grace's house. Well-dressed strangers stepped out. Their presence alone felt like trouble. They asked for Diddy. And when she came out, holding her children, her world shook again. "We've come for our Bobbies." The words hit like thunder. The couple introduced themselves as the original parents, the ones who had arranged the surrogacy before everything went wrong. They claimed the children belonged to them, that Diddy was just a carrier. A mistake didn't change ownership. But this time, Diddy was not the same girl they expected. She didn't tremble. She didn't stay silent. She held her children tighter and said one word: "No." The case went to court. It became a serious legal battle, one that drew attention. On one side, a wealthy couple with influence claiming intention and contract. On the other, a young woman with nothing but the truth. The arguments were intense. The couple insisted, "We paid for the process. Those children are ours." But Diddy's legal team, arranged by Aunt Grace, presented the medical evidence. Clear. Undeniable. The DNA results proved it. Diddy was not just the woman who carried the children, she was their biological mother. The court fell silent when the truth was revealed. The mistake that was meant to destroy her had actually secured her right as their mother. Victory, the judge ruled in Diddy's favor. The children were legally and biologically hers. The couple had no claim, no custody, no rights. Diddy won. Not just the case, but her life back. Rising from nothing, the case brought attention. Media outlets picked up her story. People were shocked. A young girl wronged by family, abused by the system, and nearly stripped of her children, who still stood strong and won. Support began to pour in. Organizations reached out. One legal foundation compensated her heavily for the hospital's negligence after the case gained public pressure. Aunt Grace guided her wisely. Instead of wasting the money, they invested. Diddy went back to school, started a small business, then another. With time, her name became associated with strength and resilience. The girl who once had nothing became a woman of wealth and influence. Justice finds its way back in the village, news spread. Her uncles heard everything, about her success, about her wealth, about how the girl they threw away had become something powerful. They came crawling back, apologizing, begging, but life has a way of balancing itself. The properties they took became sources of conflict among them. Greed destroyed their unity. Lawsuits. Debts, misfortune. One by one, they lost everything they had stolen. And Diddy? She didn't seek revenge, she simply walked away, because she had already won. A new life years later, Diddy stood in front of a beautiful home. Her children ran around the compound, laughing freely. Aunt Grace sat nearby, smiling proudly. Peace had finally found her, not because life was easy, but because she survived everything meant to break her. Diddy looked at her children and whispered softly, "You were never a mistake. You were my miracle."